Start.
Hi guys, welcome to the Reverse Sweep podcast. Myself Pranav here as host today. We unfortunately missed out last week on a podcast, and in the meantime, two tests have come and gone. So very fast moving world, fast moving tests. So today I have with me Ishwar and our newest joinee in Smith, and of course our good friend PL Matilal, who is in the UK itself, in London, who visited in the second test at Lords where India won. And
Oh,
also,
wow.
guys, PL himself has his own podcast known as Hit and Miss. So please do give a shout out to him. He's also a very knowledgeable cricket fan. So, guys, India are 2-1 up, and we won the fourth test, the second test in the city of London by 157 runs. And again, they were slightly backs against the wall, like at Lords, but we somehow managed to come out on top. So that's obviously a great thing. So today, firstly, what I'd like to discuss is a little bit of the third and the fourth test, what happened. So I'd like to start by saying in the third test, I think we were still high after what happened at Lords, and 78 all out was like completely a big shock. I mean, yeah, we knew that bowling conditions would be there at Leeds on the first day as we normally see, and batting first, while in hindsight seemed a bad decision. I didn't think at that time it was too bad, but 78 all out was a little bit of a shocker. I think all of us came crashing down to earth after that. And then, of course, the whole bowling was completely horrible. It went awry, and England scored nearly at 4 and over. And then, while India was showing some fight in the second innings, day four was again just another horrible collapse. And we ended up losing so quickly that I guess they took an extra day off just to maybe understand and process what just happened. I mean, it was quite comical. And again, day one of this test also, it looked like a repeat of Leeds 124/7 until, as we call him, Palgar Raja Shardul Thakur came in and played a really swashbuckling innings. And I think that 199 was very crucial for India. Just some, more, it just gave a good psychological feeling for the team that, we didn't again just skittle out very quickly. And then we restricted England to 290, and great innings, of course, from Rohit Sharma, from Pujara, and again Shardul Thakur, and of course, everyone's favorite Rishabh Pant. And of course, bowling performance in the end was really good. So firstly, I'd like to start firstly with PL itself. PL, what do you think about the third test? You can tell us what you felt, and of course, fourth test, what India really did well in this test match.
Well, thank you firstly for inviting me to your podcast. I'm really, really excited. I've been wanting to come on for a while, so thank you very much. And secondly, I agree with you. I think the second test, we were on such a high after that victory because I think it was a bit unexpected because we were in that position where we could have lost that match. And then that emphatic innings that slow innings from Rahane and Pujara brought us back slightly into it. Then that tail end and then the bowling, which we know is world class, won us a match which we might not have thought we could have won. And I think something of that actually went into that next test, which I think, that confidence, that brass, that Kohli style of cricket that they love doing, that we are confident we can do this again. And I think that in English and Duke's ball conditions, you have to temper that. And I feel in that third test, I think we did not do that very, very well. And I think, in the first session, especially, the Duke's ball is going to do something for the first 20, 25 overs. And then it gets easier to battle. And I think if you look at like the England innings in the third, session, it was 140 for naught. So you could bat on it, but you needed to play the first session, the first hour of the second session, and then you can bat. And I think that was probably the most disappointing thing. The application in England, you have to go through the process. You have to respect the ball. You have to respect the good bowling. You have to not be arrogant sometimes. And I think I think that's what it showed. That Lord's test was a historic test. I've actually seen India win twice out of the 3 times India won there because I went also in 2014 for that
Amazing
match as well. So I think I'm their lucky charm there.
Yeah, so next time again, PL, you must make an attempt to go. So and send us pictures like you sent me on Messenger. I think at arrogance part, I think Ravi Shastri and Kohli both are those kind of characters, and maybe that also reflects a bit.
Mm.
Uh, Also, what did you make of India? How did we feel? How do you think we were able to turn it around from almost a similar situation?
I think I think England actually then started doing the exact same thing as India in that fourth Test match, because again, 190 on that wicket is if you think about it, pathetic. On the flattest wicket in England, and we saw that in the second innings. That if you show a bit of application, you can do that. But I think England also missed a trick. I never thought 99 was that big a lead on that kind of pitch, because if you can bat properly, I know India had not batted very well in that series up to then. But if you look at it, England had the chance at that moment, the first innings, and that was the key, that they only restricted them to a 99 lead. And if you look at it, the people who've been playing the best is Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul. They've been the foundation of India. When they get a good start, then India have a chance. And you would think that with such that middle order that they have, I know it's been maligned and people are saying this guy's short, that guy's short, but they have so much experience that you think in a 5-match Test series that they will come good at some point. But I think the key is that the openers in England, the openers are key. Why Root comes out to bat at 30 for 2 nearly every single time is because the openers cannot play out that. It's really difficult on the Duke's ball. I think the Indian openers have been the real key to India's success. And Rohit Sharma was delighted that he got a century, because I think I got to be honest, I did not think Rohit Sharma would do very well in this series. I thought that his
Me
time in
too.
Test cricket was not ever going to be there. He's like the pretty 30s and 40s. They don't win you Test matches. They don't. But I think this series, this has been probably the best I've seen him play anywhere in Test cricket. Even his centuries at home, I think this is better. This was because of under real pressure, good bowling attack in those conditions. And I think that was a key thing. And credit to the Indian bowlers. The Indian bowlers have been superb. I think the Umesh Yadav decision was very, very clever. Again, I was thinking, and I've got to be honest again, I didn't think that was going to be the right decision.
Absolutely. Given his overseas record, it's always a bit of a risk. But yeah, he took wickets, so we're not complaining.
But thinking about it again, I think Umesh is an impact player. So I don't think you could play like a 5-test series and play 4 of the 5 tests. But if you're playing for 1 or 2 tests and just say, give me everything you've got, and he'll run in hard and say that you've only got 1 or 2 test matches, but I want you to give me everything, then he's that type of bowler which can be successful. And I think, picking, it could have been easily, they could have gone for Ishan Sharma again, with that experience, but they went for Umesh. And I think even though we malign Kohli's captaincy with his decision, I think you got to give him credit as well when he gets things right as well.
Yeah, very good points, PL. I think Umesh, he also enjoyed the oval pitch because it is similar to some of our Indian pitches, and I'm glad he did well, because I've always, from the first time I saw him, I've always hoped he'd do well, and I, lost a bit of faith in him because of his overseas performances. But anyway, it's good he took 6 wickets in the game and a good selection headache for India. So coming to Smith, what do you like to add? What do you think about both the third and the fourth test? What has India done differently compared to Leeds, where we just fell like 9 pins and almost did again? But what do you think? What is the real difference?
I think in the first innings, like PL said, you had to respect the conditions, and we didn't do that. I mean, India didn't do that in the third test.
Exactly.
You saw the way KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma. I mean, Rohit Sharma was controlled, but you saw the way KL Rahul played. He went for
Yeah,
a
that
cover.
was KL of 2018, you could
Yeah,
say.
exactly. That is the KL Rahul I didn't want in the test squad. And actually seeing him in 2021, I was pleasantly surprised with his performance. But then I saw we saw those glimpses of that previous KL Rahul, and he went for a cover drive straight up in the first over with the new Duke's ball. And that, I think, just consolidated the how the batting performed, because we were out for 78. We had no savior in that game as we did in this one. And I think we just felt like 9 pins. It happens every series, especially with India. I kind of expected that it will happen sometime in the series, especially in a long series like this one. But yeah, I think it was, and then we didn't do anything to come back in the game. We just gave the game, I mean, the first session itself, and then we always knew that was an uphill task to come back in the game, and you can't expect the bowlers to save you all the time. There will be periods in a 5-test series with 10 innings. You can't expect bowlers to perform 10 innings on a consecutive basis. So I think the bowlers also for like it was our kind of a bad luck that we also had this bowlers underperforming that same innings, the next innings, I mean. And so because of that, I think we just fell apart. But what we did, like what India did in this match was, yes, Umesh Yadav was, I didn't understand initially why he was picked. But then as he started performing, I realized that he had done something similar in Adelaide and Melbourne in the Australian tour right recently. You know, he took crucial wickets. He got injured in Melbourne, but he took crucial wickets. So I think that is something like PL said. You know, he goes for test matches in a series. He doesn't play more than that, and I don't think he should play more than that. But he gives it his all, and especially I think what impressed me the most was the consistent improvement with our tailenders in while batting. I think that was a standout because if you see that I think Bumrah and Umesh Yadav added around 45 extra runs in this innings. And so that is something that really changes the whole mindset of the team, because when you have that cushy runs, you don't have to worry about how many wickets you need to take at what rate, because you still have that cushion. Even if the team goes at a higher rate while chasing, you get that kind of backup that you have. So I think that is something that we really saw in this test, and like we saw in Lords. And I think that was a common factor that really made a difference. So Umesh Yadav also contributed with that.
Yeah, good point, Smith. So, Ishwar, before I just get on to you, they're talking about discipline is very important, because if you just look at it, Leeds historically the first day they always say look up at the sky, and if there's clouds you should bowl first. And there was that lack of discipline is again a, it's not actually something new. This Indian batting lineup is quite unstable. What we did well in the first couple of tests, that test we again showed the brittleness in our batting lineup. We suddenly just got all out, and till 124 for 7, that same pattern was continuing. And I think because the current batting lineup is not the most stable, if the openers do not give a good start, we're going to see such collapses. And even in the second innings, once Rohit got out, unfortunately we saw a mini collapse. Then Kohli got out, then we got a partnership. So the batting order is a little bit unstable. I mean, it's highly possible we might score even 500 in the first innings of Old Trafford next game, or we could even be again 120 order. It's very unstable. So, that is one of my big concerns. So, Ishwar, what do you like to add regarding this two tests?
I would just like to say, if you would like to understand Indian cricket, just watch these two tests, man. It had given us everything, everything. Like this has been a template since, I don't know, like the past 30 years, like not just under Kohli, even under Dhoni or Ganguly or whenever we had our backs against the wall, people usually expect us to do well. So that's what happened, basically. So when you come to Headingley, as you said, you have to look up, and if there are clouds, you need to field. But Virat Kohli batted, and I don't blame him for batting first.
I agree with you there. I myself was not too unhappy. I just felt that again, 240 if we had made that day, or even if we made 180, we would have still been in the game. Anyway, Ishwar, sorry.
Exactly.
Application was the key.
Right.
Yeah, no issues. Anyway, so that Headingley innings was a one-off innings. It is a mandatory from Indian team when they tour abroad nowadays. Especially, we are having players like Cheteshwar Pujara, Ajinkya Rahane in the middle order, who, they were considered to be one of the most reliable batters until 2017, 2016, like when we toured abroad. But their dip in form has coincided with Virat Kohli's not scoring 100s in the past 2 years. And then Rishabh Pant is a kind of player, when he gets going, he wins you games, but otherwise there's nothing from him. You can't get a 30 or 40 every time from a Pant. You either get a 0 or you get a 50 or you get a 100. So that's the kind of player Rishabh Pant is. So with such a batting lineup, and you're basically relying on Jadeja and Ravichandran Ashwin to an extent to score runs for you. And we saw at Headingley, if there was an Ashwin, or even if there was a Shardul Thakur, we would have got the 180 or 170 which you're talking about. But again, coming back to the fourth test, I really thought Ravichandran Ashwin should have played on that wicket. And I was not at all surprised why.
Ishwar, we'll come to that. Hold that thought, Ishwar. We'll definitely come to that special section.
I was not surprised why Umesh Yadav was playing, because I knew he's a very good exponent of reverse swing bowling, and I've seen him many times do it in India as well. And looking at the pitch and the analysis which Kohli had mentioned at the toss, this is going to be flat wicket, and I don't think there'll be much help. So I think Umesh Yadav was the right decision from that front. But the real difference to me in this test match was Shardul Thakur, man. The way he had
Absolutely.
performed, we were 127 for 7. Don't get us wrong, 127 for 7 on day one. I don't think many teams would even think of winning a test match from there. 127 for 7. But the way
But
he
this
came
team
out,
has that belief as well.
exactly. The way he
Yeah,
came
that's
out,
true.
and when you looked at his face, he was not thinking about just playing him out or anything. He was thinking to score. And that is what we need from champion teams. And that is what I loved about how we played this fourth test, and especially from Shardul Thakur. To me, he was the man of the match in this test. To me, yes, Rohit was the official
I
man of the
agree with
match,
you.
but yeah, Shardul Thakur was the real impact player who I think should be backed from here on, because he has shown he can do it under pressure, which is not an easy thing to do. So yes, exactly. So yeah,
I'd like to add one point.
Sure. Smith, please do.
Yeah, I think that what he said about Shardul Thakur is correct, because he looks like he's just hitting. I mean, if you look at his scorecard and you look at his strike rates, it looked like he must have. If you have not watched the match, it might seem that he might have just slogged it, but he doesn't slog. He plays proper
proper
shots.
shots.
He plays along the ground. He plays down the ground. He plays. If he hits a six, it's clear. It's not that kind of a slog. That kind of the kind of
I
shots
think
that
he's a
Shami plays.
fearless batsman. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's for
Exactly. He's a
sure.
fearless
Exactly.
cricketer, actually, not just a
Cricketer
batsman.
in
He's a
general.
fearless
Yeah,
cricketer.
and he gives it as all. And I think also the other thing is he can swing the ball a bit more than I think we think he can, because we saw it in Gabba where he did swing the ball, and I think even here
Actually, before his batting, sorry to interrupt, he was
yeah,
known as a swing bowler even in 2015 when he was playing. He was initially
yes,
thought of
yes.
as a bowler. So his ability to swing, if he does swing the ball, it should not come as a surprise. It's just that his batting has taken more precedence of late.
Yeah, but I think when we
Quick
saw
question.
him, I think we have not seen. Sorry, just 1 minute.
Yes.
I think it just the way we have not seen him perform so much, right? So we don't have enough sample size of him on the international stage, so that's why it kind of comes as a surprise that for many that he swings the ball. Yeah, of course he is a swing bowler, but uh, I think that we can capitalize on someone like him, and I think that at least for now he has really put the Hardik Pandya question to rest, because I think that is what I
Another
feel
topic
about
of
Shardul Thakur.
discussion for another
Yes,
day. Thanks,
exactly.
Smith. Yeah, PL, you wanted to
Quick
add something
question on
before?
this. I wanted to ask, do you think, and I know we'll go into the Ashwin point later, do you think that he could be in a three-man seam attack, or do you think he's there as a fourth seamer and can do that extra thing with the bat and the ball?
He is a
Yeah,
fourth
because
seamer.
I know that topic comes in with the Ashwin question later on as
I'll-
well.
Yeah,
But do you
I
he
think
can
we
play
should
in a three-man attack?
combine the two of them, because there's a good team combination question we can add to that. So before we talk about Virat Kohli and his team selection, firstly, since I'm perhaps one of the biggest Rohit Sharma fans, probably behind Piyush, special appreciation for him because for the innings he played. I mean, he's steadily improved, and uh, the thing about this innings was not just the fact that he was again seeing off the new ball, it was the fact that he was able to attack the bowlers, and he didn't get out to Moeen Ali like he did on his first England tour when he again got set and got out. So I really just love the way he batted, and I wished he had made a 200. But again, sometimes he plays silly shots, which drives everyone up a wall. And special praise to Pujara, who's been much maligned, including myself. I just wanted him to play positively, and the last couple of innings he's done that. And I don't know, I still am not sure if he's got a long future, but if he at least plays like this, he can at least give India a good number 3.
I think he just
So
needs to play like this in England. So I mean, I'm sorry to stop you there, but yeah, I think he just
no,
needs to
I
play like this
agree.
in England. In other places, his approach is completely fine for Test
Yes,
match
yes,
cricket.
exactly. Yeah, I think with
The
Rohit
only
Sharma,
worry is that if he gets into that defensive mode, even abroad, like he wants to wait for the ball to get old. I just think even if he plays positively everywhere, it's good for him. I feel he should not really change this game plan. I feel he should stick to this new game
but
plan.
I think with Pujara, I think in Australia we saw it in 2018. I think he would have played that way in 2021 as well, if the match situation didn't demand him to stay there. Because the thing is, India had a very clear plan of going for the draw and for the win at the same time. When you have someone like Pant, I think the team had very strongly made strong plans about this, that he has to bat till he gets out and he has to put a high price on his wicket. So I
Well,
think that
I
is why he didn't.
personally felt that both were playing for their position that game. But anyway, that's a different topic.
No, I'm talking about Australia. I'm talking
No,
about
Australia, I have no issue with him playing. He's
Yeah,
done well
exactly.
there. But what the point was, he should play the same way, I think, whenever he comes to bat. Just bat freely, and he can do it as he's doing.
Yeah, I think for
PL, anything
Pujara,
on Pujara? Anything on
I
Pujara
think
you'd like to add?
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think
Smith,
on
I'm so
for
sorry.
Pujara, I would just add one thing that for usual batters, we have this formula that when it's difficult, when the conditions are difficult, you stay there and try to keep your wicket and don't lose your wicket that easily. I think with Pujara, it has to be the other way. Whenever the conditions are challenging for him, like in New Zealand and England, I think he should just express himself. If the ball is there to hit it. If you get
Yeah.
out, because you're gonna get out anyway 20 balls later. So I think that is some bit with when he's in Melbourne or in India or Sri Lanka, I think he doesn't need to worry about these things. But when it's about the Duke's ball or or overcast conditions, windy conditions, I think that is where he has to take care of that.
Right. PL, you'd like to add anything on Pujara before we
Yeah.
move to England?
Yeah, I think you're right about his approach. I think in the Duke's ball conditions or somewhere in New Zealand, as you were talking before, is that the ball keeps moving where even after 20 overs. So the way Pujara bats is that he can see off the new ball, and then when you're playing with the other balls, the SG ball or something, or the Kookaburra, it's easy to bat. In England, it doesn't. It does get easier, but it's not. But it's not totally easy to bat. So even after 20 overs, the ball will still keep moving. And I think that's the problem for Pujara that in England. I think, as you rightly said, I think the approach is right in other countries. I think just in England, I think just that's the problem for him here.
Right. Okay. Right. So that's a nice discussion on Pujara, who's getting a lot of praises finally. So now I'd like to just move on to England and what really went wrong for them, because England, they came back and won by an innings, and they were again in a good position. And again, it was almost like a repeat of Lords. So what I personally feel, before I give all of you, because everyone knows my love for this English team, but I'll just be nice to them and just say as it is. I think in the whole problem is that there's too much reliance on Jimmy Anderson even now at 39. And while Ollie Robinson again has bowled well, Mark Wood, all these guys are there, but there's still too much, expectation from him. If you look at the last couple of years, Anderson at home, his second innings average is like over 100, and the first innings average is I think about 16, which is again an indicator that age is catching up with him. The fact is, no matter how fit he is, everyone is human and they have a limit. And I think after the third test, when they bowled India out so convincingly, they probably thought the same would happen. And Chris Wokes, we know how good he is in English conditions. He started the collapse for India. And I think they were just taken aback by how Shardul played, because Rishabh Pant got out slogging and they did not expect it. And Root probably got a little surprised how he was batting. And they were taken aback. But again, 191 again was, as PL said, well below par. India should have, on the first day, probably got 240, 250 again with the conditions. India were about 50 short, like I said, but England had a very good day to bat on. Day two was flat. From the second half of the first session, when Bairstow and Pope were batting, they put on 100 odd runs. They could have easily put on a 200-run partnership and put India out of the game. I mean, 99, as PL said, as Michael Vaughan was again harping on, was not a big lead on the at the Oval. The Oval, in my lifetime of watching English cricket, has been the flattest pitch. I mean, Sunny Gavaskar almost won India a match in 79 as well. That should tell you how flat the pitch has been from the time immemorial. And I think the biggest problem for England has been that if Joe Root gets out, who is making the runs? Ollie Pope, who I rate quite highly, is doing a good job. I mean, he will, I think, be a good player and he will probably bat even higher up the order. But he should have gotten 100. He was in a good position. Johnny Bairstow, who should really not be in the side, again, he had a good chance. He was on 36, batting well, and he got out. Moeen Ali, well, again, a start and got out. So if Ali and Bairstow had also added maybe even another 30, 40 runs, England would have had a big enough lead. And even on a flat pitch, if you have a big lead, it's very difficult to come back. And India, I think, even though Wokes made some runs, they knew that the lead was just under 100. So India were able to, bat maybe with little more ease. And we only lost one wicket when we wiped off the lead. And then Rohit and Pujara were, totally in control. And I think, again, we saw Anderson getting tired. Ollie Robinson also has been playing every game. He also looked tired. And Craig Overton really doesn't seem to be the kind of English seamer who, can, I think he's just a support seamer. They really missed Mark Wood. Wood with his extra pace, maybe he might have, like he rushed Pujara, might have done something. So, or even a Jack Leach, because Jack Leach, as we know, plays at Somerset and he's really good on, dryish pitches. So I think for England, the problem is the bowling, while it has been pretty good this series, has been still heavily reliant on Jimmy Anderson and Ollie Robinson. And the batting has been too reliant on Joe Root. So I think that's the reason, despite having the best of both conditions, England see themselves 2-1 down. So again, I start with PL. What do you think?
I think, well, looking at it, I think there's been quite a few mistakes England made. I think the first mistake was they put a team together which was good for a first innings, again, for the bowling. And if you look at the bowlers, they're all the same type of bowlers. They all bowl around 80 to 85 miles per hour. They're all right-handed bowlers. There isn't any variety in that attack. Moeen Ali is the only one who pulls something different to what they all do. So if you can play one of them, you can play all of them. You can. And yeah, they what do you call it? This is oversimplifying it probably a little bit, but what they needed to do was when they looked at the last test and they thought, okay, we can do the same thing again. But the difference is that this was, as we all know, the oval pitch is a flat wicket. So you got to think not just the first innings, you got to think the second innings. And this is where I think someone like Mark Wood and Jack Leach, as you were saying, should have come into the side. Because if they had someone different, then their attack had a bit of variety. I'm not saying they would have won, but they would have had a better chance in this game. Because in that second innings, we knew it was going to be flat. We knew day 3 and day 4 was the days that you would love to bat. It's as flat as a pancake. It's as close as one of my friends said, it's like an Australian style pitch. Then it is. There's nothing that will happen on those days. You batting, you will love to bat. So you can get someone back into form in that kind of pitch. You can. So I think firstly, I think that's the first mistake. I think secondly, I think they thought that India would roll over easily on this kind of pitch because they got rolled over first innings. And I think I generally think they thought that 100 lead would be enough. And I think the lower order batting was the real mistake because England, when they won 2018, was their lower order batting was the reason why they were able to get from 140 to 280, and those are the things which were really important runs. And I think those England team this time have not been able to do that. Even they got this 99 lead, it didn't feel like it was ever going to be enough. So I think they've got the conditions wrong. They got the wrong team. I think they got the wrong tactics. And even with that 99 lead, they needed to be, as you said, 150 to 200. It should have been quite easily done. And if one of those batsmen, and their own fault as well, because Bairstow had the chance to score, Moeen Ali had the chance to score, and they got 30s. If you got 30s, you should get 50s, 60s, 70s.
Right. So Ishwar and Smith, if you have anything else to add, we can then go back to our favorite topic of Virat Kohli.
Yeah, just one point. I think that England right now is completely out of sorts with what they want to do in Test cricket. I think that is the broader point here because they were playing with teams throughout. If you have been seeing since the past year or so, they just play with teams which don't make any sense, and sometimes they just like, I don't get why they played this team. I mean, I have no idea why they played it, and they choose teams for, like Michael Vaughan said, that they choose teams for the when the conditions are good, they choose teams for those conditions, the overcast conditions. After that, they stop being competitive. And I think Chris Silverwood's answer to why India got reverse swing and they didn't, and he said, I don't know. I mean, that just shows that they were not even probably thinking about reverse swing yesterday.
Exactly.
I mean, on day 4. So they were not even thinking out of the box. They have no, I mean, then you need some creativity and you need something. You could have bowled Moeen Ali. Maybe he could have gone for runs, but he went for runs anyway. So he could have given you that reverse swing factor as well. They don't think out of the box.
Yeah, I think that's surprising given Nathan Lehman and co in England does so much of data analysis. That's really a shocker.
Yeah.
So I think we should move on to the last part, which is Virat Kohli and his team selections. And for 4 days, we've all been crying out for why Ravi Ashwin has not been selected in this game. And on the 4th evening, England 77 for no loss in 32 overs. We were all crying out for Ashwin. And of course, in the end, Virat Kohli, he talked the talk and all of us looked like idiots. But the fact is, again, it does question what is really his strategy into the team selecting, because he said he goes on his gut instinct, and even in the presentation, he told Athers that he's not really bothered about data analysis, and that's something I've said, that he doesn't really read the game or the conditions much. I think the decision really worked for him, but I think if Ashwin would have been there, we would have probably won it a lot more comfortably. But again, again, it's hindsight. And just as PL was talking about Shardul Thakur, I think idea is that Shardul Thakur is the kind of player Kohli wanted in the World Test Championship final, because New Zealand went with 5 paces and it worked. And I think that's why he wants to play him in a 4-prong attack. Can he fit in a 3-prong attack? He could possibly, because if Old Trafford is going to see some turn, he might go with 2 pacers, 2 spinners, and this as possible. But I'm not so sure. I think with this current strategy, he's going to stick with 4 pacers, and Ravi Ashwin will have to again look for a new Netflix series maybe, or whatever, for his vlog, as he was saying.
Listen to Surrey.
Right. So I think Kohli's selections do boggle the mind, but I guess some people will also defend his selection, saying that India won. I still think he has to not take such risks, because maybe against better opposition, it might cost us. So all of you, what do you all think of the selection? I'll go with Ishwar, who's the biggest Kohli fan here. Siddharth Rehan is missing, otherwise it would have been a nice one-on-one. So Ishwar.
Yeah, coming to the team selections, yes, I also think that Ravi Ashwin would have played this test match. Even I was damn sure that he would play here. But when Kohli came out at the toss and, he gave the reasoning that, 4 lefties are a good proposition for Jaddu, I was genuinely shocked when I first heard that. But then
I still laugh at that. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
But then eventually, looking at the result and how the ball spun and how Jaddu was actually very lethal against David Malan and Moeen Ali and co. So it was amazing. So to see Virat Kohli select such a team. So see, at the end of the day, we need to give him credit, because it was his selections. We got the result which we deserved. So yes, at the end of the day, Virat Kohli was right. But from our point of view, yes, Ravichandran Ashwin should have played. And yes, who knows? It's all if and buts. He would have gone for a lot of runs as well. But yes, looking at it from this after the match has done, yes, Ravichandran Ashwin would have been a very handy player on that wicket. Other than that, his selections were all right. I was not shocked with Umesh Yadav like others, because I knew he would play if Shami was out, because he was a like for replacement for reverse swing. So other than that, he was fine. Yeah, backing Rahane, I still do get it, because he was someone. So yeah, I also am someone who goes with my gut rather than stats and whatever. You already know that. So yeah,
yes,
it's something. So
Ishwar is vibes only. Right. So quickly, PL and Smith, if you all would like to add anything on Kohli before we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
I think. Oh yeah, please go on. Please go on.
Okay, David.
Okay.
So I think the Ashwin situation is really interesting, because I think when he started the series, he had this policy of 4 pacers, 1 spinner. I think when you go with that theory, and I think the way that Kohli captains is that when he goes with the theory, he wants to go full in. So he doesn't. So actually, people criticizing him actually probably make him more determined to want to be successful with that policy, even if we think it's the right or wrong thing. Personally, I think we all think that Ashwin should have played, and I think the pitch and the condition, and it was quite warm for an English day, obviously. So it was the right kind of pitch and conditions for him to play, and with 5 left-handers, as you're saying. So I think people try to make that argument that Ashwin might not have done so well, but he might have also done so well. So I think we can't be so critical, because he got the result, and that's a results-based game. It is, but I think Ashwin would make the team better. I think he's the second best bowler in the world. He has a good record now in the last 5 years in Senna countries. So if Jadeja can be successful, I think Ashwin could have been successful as well. That's my theory.
So Smith, any closing thoughts on Kohli?
Yeah, I think his selections sometimes are adamant, and at times when they don't have to be that adamant, and then sometimes they are reactive and they don't have to be reactive. I think that sums up his selection strategy a lot. And I think with Ashwin, this match, yes, for sure he backed his, and that is something I like about Kohli. He backs his choices. That is good to see from an Indian captain. But I think that the fact is that I think we won this despite Ashwin not playing, not because Ashwin wasn't playing. So I think
that is true. That is true.
That is the main key difference. I think if Shardul had not played that well, and I think there is also a case to be made for who is Ashwin actually replacing. Is he replacing Jadeja, Thakur, Umesh, or I think even a batter could be replaced for Ashwin. I mean, I
Well,
really
you can
think
drop Rahane and play Ashwin.
Yeah,
Ashwin can
exactly. If
certainly
you have
add
to
more
score
runs.
20 runs in the match, you can just pick Ashwin and he'll give you 3 wickets anyway. So I think like
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
yeah, that's my
So
take on it.
yeah, so I guess Virat's selections are never going to please everyone, and we're always going to keep having debates on it. So let's see. I think again, Old Trafford, we might see some shocking selection. Who knows? Or we might just see some selection where somebody like a Bumrah rests because IPL Part 2 and the World T20 is up. So anyway, guys. Thanks a lot, and also thanks to PL for coming on the show. He's been anxious to come. So please like, subscribe, and share with your friends on YouTube, Instagram, and on Spotify. And please do give us some feedback, and please let us know what we can do to improve. So good to be back after a long time, and we'll hopefully see you just before Old Trafford, and hopefully India makes it 3-1. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.